Dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhagavad Yoga. In a way, you will develop a desire to attain me. In this verse, two different processes of the Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the supreme person by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations which one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attached Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, but being engaged is sense gratification. But the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material essence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love, but he takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. The stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. This love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart, and their love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by a material association. Now the material association has to be purified, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter temple and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna, then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cooked foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take parashtam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow. One should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of the God. He is sure of the progress in the spiritual kingdom of God. The practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. Text 10. Abhi pai asmarto si ma karma paramo pavama artam abhi karami kuram siddham ayapsi yasi. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. One who is not, not able even to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of the spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in this propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulated principles of Bhakti Yogi, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand, so the same is required in service of Krishna. The only difference is that the materialism one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for satisfaction of Krishna, and that is a spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can the building help in building an office or temple for propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activities, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of such activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage of propagate or to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God. Thereupon, one becomes perfect. Text 11. Atatad api ashto si kartum ma yogam ashtrita shara karma palala ta gam tata kurum yata manyam. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness, then try to act, giving up all results of your work and try to be self situated. It may be that one is unable to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of familial, or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. If one attaches himself to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objection from family members or so many of the other difficulties. For one who has such a problem is advised to sacrifice the accumulated result of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Veda rules. There are many descriptions of sacrifices and special functions of the Puyamdi, or special work in which the results of one previous action may be applied. Thus, one gradually become elevated to the state of knowledge. It also found that when one who is not interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard earned results of his activities. That is also recommended here because by the practice of giving up fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually. And in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any other experience because Krishna consciousness itself can purify one's mind. But there are impediments to Krishna consciousness. One may try to give up the result of his action. In that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted so that someday one can come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find it is stated, Yata partir bhutatam, is if one decides to sacrifice for the supreme cause, even if he does not know that supreme cause is Krishna, he can gradually understand that Krishna is the supreme cause by sacrificial method. One more? Yeah. Text 12. Surrayo hai janam ahi asha janad dai anya vishashati dai anyat karma parla tayagashantir anantaram. If you cannot to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of your action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. As mentioned in the previous verses, these are the two kinds of devotional service: the way of regulated principles, and the way of full attachment in the love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those who are actually not able to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, it is better to cultivate knowledge, because by knowledge one can be able to understand his real position. Gradually, knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one can be able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by a gradual process. There is a process which make one understand that himself is the Supreme, and that sort of meditation is preferred if one is unable to engage in devotional service. If one is not able to meditate in such a way, then there are prescribed duties as enjoined in the Veda literature for the Brahmanyas, Vishyas, Vayas, and Sudras, which you shall find in the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But in all cases, one should give up the result or fruits of labor. This means to employ the result of karma for some good cause. In summary, to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goals, there are two processes. One process is by gradual development, and the other process is direct. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the direct method, and the other method involves renouncing the fruits of one's activities. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then to the stage of meditation, then to the stage of understanding the super soul, and then to the stage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One may either take the step by step process or the direct path. The direct path is not possible for everyone. Therefore, the indirect process is also good. It is, however, to understand that the indirect process is not recommended for Arjuna because he is already at the stage of loving personal devotional service to the Supreme Lord. It is for others who are not at this stage, for them the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, and realization of the supersoul and the Brahman should be followed. But as far as the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, it is the direct method that is stressed. Everyone is advised to take the direct method and surrender unto the personality of Godhead Krishna.
Sounds like more of the same.
Yeah.
But there is a certain in Shloka number 8. There's poetry. When a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and the internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. How beautiful is that?
Mm-hmm.
So I may have told Pam this, but I wanted to share that a couple of things. I started reading Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography. He doesn't say, he says it's not really an autobiography because it talks about his search for truth and to always be truthful. And then he says, well, maybe it is an autobiography because it tells the story of my life through, telling the story of this search for truth. And then
you said that's Mahatma Gandhi. Is it Gandhi?
Gandhi, yeah, or a Mohandas Gandhi. It depends. Mahatma is like a honorific, or maybe Mohandas is. Who knows? By both, the person who basically triggered, or finalized the liberation of India from Britain,
right,
Yeah. So anyway, at the same time, I've been watching, because it's finally available to the public. There's a 20th and 21st century composer named Philip Glass, and I don't know if you guys like minimalist music, but he's one of sort of the key composers who does minimalist music. So he writes operas in addition to a bunch of other things, and he wrote an opera called Satyagraha, which is about Mahatma Gandhi and his early life, the first 20 years or so of his working life that he spent in South Africa, where he worked for the equality of Indians who lived in South Africa. I mean, that puts it way too simply, but the interesting thing about it is the story is about that struggle. The story is also about him striving to live in truth. So the lyrics, the action on stage about the struggle, but behind that action are scenes of what's going on in his mind. And the lyrics are from the Gita. They're all from the Gita. And it's absolutely fascinating. The music is an acquired taste. Most people I know who listen to it the first time say, that's it. And my husband, who is so kind, bought me the DVD with the Met performance and actually sat through the first two acts with me. We have yet to get to the third act.
That's so interesting.
It's very interesting, and it's just, it's like one of those times in your life when you realize, oh, everything comes together, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
But I liked the thrust. I'm continuing to read his book Satyagraha, his autobiography, that isn't, because of he continually faces himself in terms of, am I living a true life? I mean, there's other stuff going on as well, but it's that is worthwhile reading for that. It's almost like a text, a sacred text, but not quite, because it's written by a very human being. So
yeah, I know his whole existence was influenced by Bhagavad Gita. He would carry it around with him, and the Satya, it's powerful to live your truth like that.
Sure was. Look at what it led him to do. I mean, and the other thing that's very interesting is that he says at the very beginning of Satyagraha, from the very beginning, my purpose has been to basically reach Krishna consciousness. And yet he lives his whole life dealing with social struggle, et cetera, et cetera. He renounced his householder life and his traditional, Indian life. And he, obviously, but he did not renounce social involvement. In fact, that was his life.
Yeah.
So it's not a contradiction, but what is the Sanskrit word for bodhicitta? Teacher?
I think bodhicitta isn't that like an enlightened master of bodhicitta?
Yeah, but isn't it an enlightened master who decides he's not going to go the final step
Oh yeah, maybe.
And he's in other words, he would be, I'm going to say this wrong, so forgive me, he would be entitled to meld into Krishna consciousness and not have to go through reincarnation, but decides instead, no, I'm going to come back and help people. So it's the Mother Teresa type, and I sort of, I'm not far enough into this book to say this, but that's what it's striking me that Gandhi was.
Can't you get there through helping others anyway?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can't you get to consciousness through helping others anyway?
Well, but in the end, if you're merging with the super soul, it's almost like you're giving up your micro soul so that you are a part of the super soul.
Gotcha.
You're not coming back. you're not being reincarnated as a whatever. At least that's how I understand it.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
That's a more Jnanic view. The Bhakti view is that you go and hang out in the other loka.
you hang out in the other loka.
Yeah,
right.
there's still this like the individual soul is separate from the Krishna soul.
So you still have your individual soul, but you're not here on earth herding cows or on the LIR. You're in another loka.
Yeah, you're herding cows in Krishna loka. At least that's what I.
Herding cows in Krishna.
But then I don't know, I've been like listening to other stuff recently, and they say that Krishna loka isn't even the highest. There's like Kailasha, which is where you go, and there's like what you're talking about, the reabsorption.
Right.
But it's you give up your you do give up the cycle of birth and death because Krishna loka is a non-material planet. I don't know if that's what you meant.
So it made me wonder, suppose Gandhi was at that level, and then when he was assassinated and died, and he hits the bardo, suppose he says, oh, I want to go back. I have more work to do. I choose to go back. Yeah, I know I could go to the next place, the next level, the other loka or absorption or whatever, but I want to go back. So my question is, who is Gandhi now? And did I ever sit next to him on the LIRR?
That's an interesting thought.
Remember that old song, What If God Was One of
one of us,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a stranger on the bus.
And I also wanted to say, I'm going back to California next week, Tuesday. I'll be,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, they're packing up to move east. So my rationale is I'm going out to babysit so they can get on packing, because it's tough to work
Yeah.
from home, pack, and watch a
yeah.
9-month-old. So that's my excuse. So I will be not participating from Tuesday through the following Wednesday, but coming back, I guess 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I'll be here tomorrow, Friday, and Monday morning.
Okay, that sounds great for you.
It is. It's a good excuse. So
Yeah.
I'm taking it.
I had a hard time last week not having this as like a opening to the day. I would
Yeah, I was thinking of
sometimes,
you girls.
what?
I say, yeah, I was thinking of you girls every morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard. Like it was just really hard not to start your day with this and to do like sometimes I went straight to work or it was just hard. It wasn't the whole day felt off balance.
Mm. So we'll
That's
continue.
interesting, because it wasn't hard for me. But you know what? Last week was a big gardening week, because it's spring. This is when you do a work. And plus that's luxury. I'm so tied to the senses, but I don't care. I was just luxuriating in how green and lush everything is. Oh my Lord. And every day, except what the squirrels get to, those vicious, evil, must have done something terrible in a past life to be a squirrel. But what they don't get to is green and lush, and just, you can almost kill something and then you plant it in the season and it comes back. It's amazing. So I think that helped me out. That plus I didn't have to go to work.
Yeah.
As rewarding as work can be, it's like being a hamster on a wheel sometimes.
Yes, that's a good analogy.
Do you guys want me to talk you through pranayama? Is where to eat
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so sit up nice and tall. Take your right hand and place your thumb over your right nostril. Inhale through the left nostril. Close off both sides.
Hey, girl.
Exhale through the other. Inhale through the right. Close off both sides. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Closing both sides. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Closing both sides. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Closing both sides. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Closing both sides. Exhale through the left. Inhaling through the left. Closing both sides. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Closing both sides. Exhaling through the left. You can continue going back and forth, or if you're feeling like you need more energy, you can go for the right side. If you feel like you need more healing, more rest, you can just inhale and exhale at the left side. Then we'll take the thumbs and close off the ears, and the peace fingers can close off the eyes. We'll go for 5 rounds of bumblebee breath, inhaling through the nose and then exhaling, humming through the nose. And you can sit in your preferred form of meditation, and I'll set the timer. Bringing the hands in prayer. Bowing the head. Namaste.
Namaste.
Take care, everyone. Pam, if you need anything, call me, okay?
I will. Thanks, ladies.
All right. Bye.
Take care.